Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Live Strong podcast. Now, if you are watching today's episode, not listening, you might see this interesting microphone situation I've got happening today. If you're following along on my microphone journey, I realized that I needed to use both mics for me to have the best audio because I've got like a double mic system. So when I have a guest on, they can have a mic and I can have a mic. But when it's just me, I need to use both of them, which it seems stupid. So there's probably a way I can make this not happen, but I'm not good with this tech sort of business. But after the wedding, which is 2 weeks away, may I add, one of my goals is to set up a little bit better for this podcast situation because, like I've said before, I actually really enjoy doing the podcast, but I've got no real specific layout of doing it, or I don't really plan in advance what I'm really going to do for the week. It's sort of just a topic might come into my head, whether it's just at the gym or someone said something like, oh, maybe I should talk about that, or a friend's be like, oh, I'd love to come on, or whatever. And that's why I talk about that thing for that episode. So I want to have a bit more of a plan and take it a little bit more seriously and put a bit more effort into, uploading it and making it look pretty and whatnot. So that's a goal for the rest of the year, right? But I was thinking of getting a microphone that is like a handheld mic, because I've noticed when a lot of people do their podcasts, they use handheld mics. There's some people who use like a mic on a desk, so that's like they have free hands, and then others who hold their mics. And I'm thinking I might try the handheld mic situation. We've done one episode before up here in the office space, and this is only the second one. And I think I'm going to, again, try and stick with doing them up here. Once I've got a bit more of a setup, I'm going to try and like actually set up this background so it looks more like the same every week, where right now you can see, only if you're watching. If not, I might add on the Instagram a little screenshot of me here, slay, because you can see I've got some of my hens bits and pieces. If you can look on the ground, and my snowboard boots are down there. Like, it's not the most aesthetic looking location at the moment, but it will do the job as always. But yeah, oh shit, see, mic's fallen off already. But like I was saying, 2 weeks till the wedding, guys. So close. Next week, there'll be another podcast episode, and I think I'm going to do it something in lines with the wedding coming up. Don't really know. It might just be a bit of a ramble episode. But then there won't be a podcast for 3 weeks because I'm actually having 3 weeks off work, which I've never had 3 weeks off work in the middle of the year before. I've had a week off, and that's sort of the most time I've had off when the gym's been in operation. So 3 weeks is a really long time. But the first week I have off, so not next week, the week after, even though I don't get married till that Saturday, we actually head to the Hunter Valley on the Thursday. So it's only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, really, I'm at home. And for those 3 days, I'm really going to just try and like de-stress and relax. I've got obviously appointments every day to do, like hair, nails, don't know what else, but things, and things that need to be done for the wedding. Like, I'm going to use those days to pack, and we've got to get a few like bits and pieces from the shops, like groceries and alcohol and stuff that I won't get till then. But besides that, I literally just want to chill. That's my main goal of that week, is to really chill, bring my nervous system down, relax, calm my farm, catch up on some sleep, so I feel like my best self for the wedding weekend. I'm not feeling tired, lethargic, feel like my best self. So I don't really remember why I was telling you this story. Oh, there'll be no podcast. So yes, I probably could record a podcast, but I ain't gonna. I'm having 3 weeks off, so you'll all survive. It's not like millions of people are waiting for my episodes to drop. So those who are listening, you can wait your 3 weeks, and I'll be back with a banger afterwards, because first episode back, obviously, it's going to have to be a wedding recap, which will be a slay. So that's the podcast schedule coming up. But today, guys, we're going to talk about that one time I did a bodybuilding show. Some of you guys may know, some of you may not, that back in 2022, your girl actually did a bodybuilding show, and she didn't do too bad in it. So let's start from the beginning. And I'm going to talk about the story, because I think a few times since I've started this podcast, I've brought it up. I've been like, oh, I learned this, or I did this, or I remember this, or whatever. But I've never really done a full episode dedicated to it. And I thought, why not have a bit of a story time today, So let's do it. Now, like I said, I competed in 2022. It was August of 2022, but my actual sort of preparation for my bodybuilding show started within COVID times. I started with my coach in 2020 with the goal, the foreseeable goal to compete. So I signed up with her saying, I'm signing up now and I want to compete in a show. So we prepared essentially for those 2 years for that. But even starting further back, like why did I want to do it? What sparked my interest? What got me thinking about doing this thing, right? So back in the day when I first met Nathan, he was really into the gym. Now you might think he's really into the gym now, but nowhere near as much as he used to be. So when I first met him, he was very, very, very serious about bodybuilding and the prospect of becoming a professional bodybuilder and, you know, heading down that journey with his life. And he did a few bodybuilding shows. He did 2 seasons actually. So a season is classified usually like a few months of the year. They usually do a season A and a season B of the year. He did a season over 1 season for 2 years. So he did 2 seasons where he did really well. He won some great medals at like national level and whatnot. And I sort of was with him throughout this whole journey. Now, as I went through this whole journey, I became quite invested in his experience and, you know, watching other competitors, watching professional leagues. Like he was really into watching, like, you know, the Olympia and the Arnold Classic and all these big shows. They're like the biggest shows in the world, right? We even went to the Arnold Classic Australia, which they don't actually do anymore, but we went, I think 3 years in a row. We went to Melbourne. You know, you would see, you know, professional level, international, the best of the best, you know, pretty much. We're there, like, you know, you do meet and greets. We'd go watch the big bodybuilding show, which would be like a big night event. And, you know, we were quite invested in the bodybuilding world, I guess, you know, like I followed it, whatnot. And then, so since then, like he must have competed in 2018, 2019 maybe, or 2017, 2018. So like a little bit ago, I was really invested. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I always thought I would love to do it. Like even then I was like, wow, I'd love to do it. Like those girls look sick. They're so strong. They look amazing. Like they look so fit. Like, you know, you'd be amazed watching these people and what their bodies could do. But I always had this thought in my head that I could never do that. Like it was my belief within myself, I could never do that. I could never eat like that. Like there's no way in this world that I could eat to get my body into that physique. That was my main thought. I was like, I could train, I could do everything else, but there's no way I could eat. I was like, I'd always just say, I love food. I love food, which is true. I love food. And it was just like this disbelief that myself, Olivia, could actually achieve that. Like I honestly believed I could not do it. So I'd always sort of told myself that. And, you know, time went on. I continued to follow the sport. I continued to, be invested. I trained really hard. I was becoming a personal trainer. So like I was very involved in the fitness world. So, you know, I kept growing. I was getting older and older and older, you know, and I think it just like hit me. I think it was in COVID. Like I was in COVID and I just thought, I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to do it. I think I'd started to follow more girls that I knew or like, you know, similar age or, you know, I might have even seen them be like, I can do what she can do. Like not in a up myself way, maybe, I don't know. But like I'd see them and I'd be like, I could do what that girl could do. Why couldn't I do it? And my attitude started to change to that. And yeah, in COVID, which was when I reached out to my coach to be like, hi, I'm Olivia, let's do it. Which was actually really scary. I hadn't really had a coach in a really long time. I had done sport aerobics, but like I'd grown up in that. So like I had a coach then who I really looked up to then, doing aerobics. And, you know, I was a very dedicated athlete even when I was younger. So like I'd had that sort of person, and I'm one of those people that even for myself where, you know, I would, even in 2020 when, you know, I'd only, during the phase of, getting a coach and all that stuff, I'd only just really like signed my lease where the gym was. So like I was still really building myself in the fitness industry, but, you know, I definitely knew, you know, I had people looking up to me, but I was someone who really looked up to people. Like when I believed in someone and what they told me, I bloody believed. Like I'm like, they told me I needed to jump off a bridge to do my best in the show, I'd jump off the bridge. Like that's sort of my dedication level. So even when I was younger and I did aerobics, if my coach said, oh, you can't do this. If you do this, you won't be successful. I'd be like, fuck, I'll never do that like in my life. That was sort of like my mindset. I guess it's a positive and a negative sort of trait I have within myself. But when someone tells me to do something, I bloody do it. So I was like a bit nervous about getting a coach because I hadn't had one in so long. And I knew that I'm like an all or nothing type of girly. So picking my coach was something that I took pretty serious. I ended up going with a girl who was a competitive coach. So she had coached girls who had competed before, but that wasn't necessarily her job. Her name's Sherelle Grant, and I'm sure a lot of my girls at the gym probably follow her from when I used her as a coach and whatnot. And when I first started with her, she only had a really small sort of coaching, like online coaching world, and she now owns the women's health movement, which she has lots of coaches under her, and it's a lot of a bigger company that she has now. But when I first signed up with her, it wasn't as big. It was just her. Or it was slowly growing. As I was with her, she turned it into women's health movement. So it was like transforming, right? But I originally liked her because I felt like she had a really realistic approach to competing. She was a pro herself, so she had gone through this. I feel like she was quite upfront with results, what you needed to do, blah, blah, blah. So I essentially just took the leap and signed up with her. Like, I don't think I thought about it too deeply. There's a lot of strictly bodybuilding coaches out there, especially bikini bodybuilding, which are the small girls, which I competed in. There's a lot of coaches, they're mainly all male, to be honest, which literally just coach bikini athletes in all levels, like the highest level to the amateur level, and they just specifying that, which I do think they are quite elite in coaching those girls, and a lot of those girls who have those coaches do really, really well. However, in the bodybuilding world, which I think a lot of people don't know that much about, there's a lot of unsafe behavior. Let's call it that. Like, there's a lot of drug use that gets used even with girl bikini bodybuilding. There's a lot of unsafe hormone imbalances. Like, I think a lot of coaches put their girls into states that cause long-term effects on their hormones. And I think sometimes coaches give their competitors, which, honestly, they probably should be doing. Like, they give them a path to go down so that they can win their show, but without really caring about, the journey that girl's going to go on, like maybe the mental battle, the physical battle for them to get there, right? But, I guess the coach's job is for the girl to get the best result possible, right? So I guess they're doing their job, but without maybe looking holistically at the athlete, which I think over time, like even now, 3-4 years on, people definitely talk about that a lot more, but maybe not as much then. And I felt more comfortable signing up with this girl, Sherelle, who had done it herself. She speaks really positively about her health, and she also used to be a midwife, so she came across quite smart, and I still believe she's quite smart. So I signed up with her. Moral of the story. Now, when we started, our first goal was to make sure I had enough muscle mass on me to actually step on stage. Now, the federation that I decided to compete in was called WBFF, which stands for World Beauty Fashion Fitness. It is now called FMG, which is, actually I don't even know what it stands for, FMG now, but something. Just because they had this big blow up and they had to change their name, logistically behind the scenes things. But I did WBFF. Now, I looked up to girls like Rachel Dillon, Hattie Boyle, Lauren Simpson, like all the girls, the Aussie girls who had won the world championships at this level. They were all sort of the girls that I'd idolized. They all had physiques that were pretty. They don't look super jacked. Like, they're pretty physiques, Hattie is quite jacked, but like in a pretty way. That you get to wear a gown on stage. Like there's a little like sort of like pageant round, which is a bit bizarre, but like I was like, fuck, that seems cool. And the posing isn't as strict as something like IFBB, which is a different federation. And when you do an IFBB show, you have specific poses that every single person does. So essentially you're all like little robots on stage. It's like, everyone do this, and then we see who does that the best. Everyone do this, we see who does that the best. Where WBFF, which is what I did, your posing routine is very unique. You get to have a bit of like flair, a bit of character, a bit of sass. Like you get to bring a bit of yourself to your routine. And it is really about, showing off your body, not necessarily. So sometimes maybe you don't have the best physique on stage, but you could do better than someone else because you are able to present your body better. Where in IFBB, to some extent, the best body will win as long as you can still pose. Like, if that sort of makes sense. So I picked the one where I could look pretty on stage, I could design my bikini, I could wear a pretty dress, and I could have a little bit of a posing routine that had a bit of flair to it. Because when I did aerobics back in the day, one of my biggest successes and the biggest positive about me as an athlete was my stage presence. Like, I am able to present very well on stage. Don't know why, but I can. So that drew me to WBFF. I was like, I can't wait to sort of show myself off and, bring that sort of flair that I love bringing to the stage, because I love being on stage, to the competition. So I decided to do WBFF. Now, we had to put some muscle on me, because you got to have muscle before you go on stage, because you'll be surprised. These girls will look like teeny weeny little girls on stage when you see people at their peak for performance, and their peak about to get on stage. They're a few weeks out or a few weeks post. And, I think this is sometimes a lot of, non-bodybuilder people see these photos of girls looking like that, not realizing that most of them only look like that for 6 weeks and then they return back to their normal size. But these girls at their off season, so when they're not about to step on stage, they actually aren't the smallest girls ever, because they have a fair bit of muscle on them. So I actually needed to focus on building some muscle. So we really, really, really upped my calories. I was eating, I'm going to say, close to 3,000 calories a day, tracking it all on MyFitnessPal, so that it was, it was very strict on what I was, like, I had to be strict to hit my calories. I wasn't just eating shit food. I was eating quality food, but a lot of it, to try and put a bit of muscle on me, on my little twiggy body. Even though I did have some muscle, it wasn't enough. And even when I competed, it was not enough. So, which was really depressing, because I was like, oh my God, yeah, I've got good legs. Then you get all your fat off you and you're like, oh fuck, they're little twigs. So that was the first goal. Now, we did a building phase for, just over a year, let's say. So the goal was to literally build muscle. It didn't matter how much fat I had in my body. I had to build muscle. That was the goal. I did that with a coach. It was, even though we think, getting lean and doing all that sort of stuff is the hard part when you need a coach, and off season, you also need a coach. So I did that with her. And then we began a 9-month, no, it wasn't 9. How long was it? It was 20, I think it was 6 months, 6 to 7 month deficit. Now, when I competed in August, so I started the deficit somewhere in the beginning of, I think it was like March in 2022, before competing in August. So from March to August, I was in a strict deficit. Now, by strict, I mean that I recorded, calculated, thought about every single thing I put in my body for that period of time. Every single thing. Like, there was no lick, sip, or bite that went in my body that was not calculated for. And like I said to you guys before, I'm very disciplined when I need to be. So this was definitely a time where my discipline was at an all-time high. Like, literally Monday to Sunday, from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, every single calorie I put in my body was counted for. Now, doesn't mean that I was eating the shittest food ever, because, like I said, I went with a coach who was quite realistic, and we started at 3,000 calories, remember. So I built my my resistance up so that I was starting not with heaps and heaps of body fat on me. So I'd been eating at this high calorie, but I've been quite strict with it. 3,000 calories. We just had to dwindle down from there. So it meant that for some period of this time, I was able to have a fair bit of food still, but even though I was starting to lose body fat. So my calories, slowly decreased as, the weeks and months went on. But like I said, was always being super strict. I always had room for dessert, literally all the way up until the end of my show. Whether that dessert was like a sugar-free hot chocolate or, at the beginning maybe it was an ice cream, but that was something that I felt like I needed for me to be able to stay accountable. And it, like I said, it was counted within my calories for the day. So even if the rest of my day was super clean food, that was maybe the one processed food I would have for the day to help me achieve my goals and be able to do it in a way that I didn't become an insane human. Now, throughout those 6-7 months, I really restricted my social outings. I wasn't eating out. I wasn't drinking alcohol. If I did eat out, I had essentially, obviously don't recommend, essentially starved myself for the day so that I could have that meal out. Or I would, like I said, I'd eat before I went out. I multiple times took my food to restaurants to eat my food out. It was a really strict time for my nutrition, and in hindsight, I was building some pretty negative habits for myself over that period of time that I didn't really realize were going to affect me so negatively after my show. But I was so strict. Like, everything. Like I said, I didn't skip a beat. I didn't miss a beat. I woke up, thought about the show, went to bed, thought about the show. Probably for about 4 months leading to the show, my dinner every single night was white fish, cauliflower rice, and veggies. That was my dinner because I didn't have enough carbs to have enough carbs with dinner. Like, I just that was my dinner before I went to bed. Like I said, every single night for about 4 months. So it all looks, I still have room for my hot chocolate afterwards because, like I said, that would make me happy. But for me to get my body into the position that I got into by the end, I was really strict with my food, and I was definitely neglecting myself from lots and lots of different avenues in my life. Now, as I got a bit closer towards the show, my cardio had increased. Like, I was doing, I think 4 or 5 times a week. I had to do like 30 minutes on the bike as well as my step count. So like, that was my extra cardio. So I'd do my workout, I'd do my 30 minutes on the bike, and then I would do my step counts. And I think my steps got up to only like 15,000. So they weren't like tragic. But when I was 2 weeks out from the show, I got really sick. Like, no joke, the sickest I've ever been in my whole life. And I still to this day put it down to me being run down. Like, so throughout this whole prep, I was working. I think during my prep, I hired Montana as a coach at the gym, but I was working, 6 days a week, waking up at 4 a.m. every day, trying to do it on less calories. Like I said, super food focused. My competing was my number one focus when I got up in the day. I was doing, everything still for normal life, but this on top of it. And I honestly think I was so run down. I had really bad migraines for probably a week, and I never get migraines, like never. I don't think I'd ever had a migraine beforehand, and I literally could not get out of bed. Like, I'm not being dramatic. And I think my body was like, bro, you're messed up. In my prep, I also lost about 12 kilos, which is pretty normal, let's say, like pretty normal to lose that much weight, because you're trying to lose essentially all of your muscle. Sorry, not all your muscle. You're trying to lose all of your body fat and keep all your muscle. That's essentially what you're trying to do to some degree. But for a girl who I didn't have that much body fat on me to start with, and I'd never lost that amount of weight before. Like, 12 kilos was a lot for me, and I was tiny. Wasn't giving myself much food. Obviously, it was all part of the thing. I wasn't doing anything that I wasn't meant to be doing, but I just think my body was like, bro, we're over it. So I spent probably 10 days in bed, which was very, very hard mentally, like very hard. Plus, also, I was being a psychopath. Like, this is how insane I got. Like, I didn't want to have Panadol. I didn't want to have anything because I was worried that it was going to have an effect on my body. Like, I was like, oh, the Panadol, I might hold water, blah, blah, blah. I was even like, I don't know, like I remember I was getting butter menthols or something. I was like, oh my God, they have 4 calories. I can't have a butter menthol. Like I was insane, like unhealthily insane. So yeah, I was overthinking everything. I was in bed dying. And then I ended up coming to life. Yay. And I probably got out of bed with 2 weeks till the show, like still a little bit to the show. So I'm probably being dramatic there saying that it was so close, but it was very close. It was in the final few weeks. Got really sick. And then it was front showtime. Now, the show was in Sydney. And I was down there for probably like 5 nights or something. It's a full like ordeal doing one of these WBFF or FMG shows because everyone is like your typical fitness Barbie. Like, let's say that. Like, obviously not me, but like everyone's got their fake tits and they're like look super like put together. Everyone goes and gets their professional photo shoots and like everyone gets stylists their photo shoots, like all these sorts of things, which, you know, go for gold. And I did photo shoots. I had a stylist for my photo shoots, little things. But in hindsight, I'm like, those photo shoots were just not me. And I'm like, if I did a show again, I would not do it that way. I'd probably do a photo shoot because I found it was really important to remember, you know, what I look like and all the hard work I put in, all these sorts of things, which I do think is positive. But like, I don't know, I feel like I could have done it. Like I did a photo shoot with Giselle, who's a girl who's done photos for me and at the gym, and she did our engagement shoot. Love Giselle. Shout out to Giselle. We did a shoot a day after the show at the beach in Sydney, and they are like my favorite photos because I felt like it was very me. I had swimmers on, but like I'd pick the swimmers myself, and we were just sort of having fun with it. And like my mum was there, and I feel like that was really fun. Where I did some other ones, but were like more me trying to be like sexy and like wearing these outfits, and I was like, oh, this is not me. So, like yeah, the whole weekend is very like showgirl vibes. People are like, oh, you make so many good friends at these shows and stuff. I feel like I met a few girls that were like lovely and stuff, but I do feel like the atmosphere is very like fake at these sort of shows. And everyone's sort of fake friends, you know, it's that sort of vibe. And I'm really bad being a fake friend. Like my energy to be a fake friend is like 0. So like I'm always nice, and you know, if I have a great chat with someone, that's great. But like I'm never like, oh my God, I love you so much, babe. Like that's not really my vibe. But yeah, so we were there for a few days, did a few photo shoots before and after. You do like a registration night the night before where you just sort of get up, dressed up, and you go to essentially register. There's nothing really about it. I think it's just an opportunity for everyone to get dressed up. I wore this cute pink dress, which was a slate. You get to bring like a +1. Nath came, which was funny, and we just did that. Cheryl was there, my coach, which was really lovely, so you got to see her. And then my coach as well was, she lives in Melbourne, so she wasn't with me. It was an online coach as well the whole time, as a little hindsight. So it wasn't like I was doing one-on-one check-ins. It was all, face-to-face check-ins. It was one-on-one, but it was online. So yeah, we did the registration night, and then it was show day. Now, like I said earlier, you do like a posing routine and stuff. So like I'd already, this is all choreographed, and you practice it literally like every single day for the whole time so that you're perfect at it, because if you can't pose your body right, you're not going to do well. I was shit scared, like fucking shit scared about this whole thing getting on stage. They give you a bit of time in the morning if you want to like put your heels on and practice a little bit. Just make sure, you know, like see how slippery the stage is, how well you're going to spin and stuff, because it's like a routine. Like you step, you spin, you know, you hit a pose, you step out on a leg. So you don't want to be like slipping around on the stage and stuff. So did that. You get your makeup done actually by the competition's makeup team, which still I think is weird. I think they do that so that all the girls sort of look the same, because if not, some people probably wouldn't reach the glam expectation of the federation. I hated my makeup that the girl did. So it's literally like they have like, let's say 40 makeup artists. They set them up in a room, and 40 hairstylists, and you have a time, it's like 10:30, you go in and you get your hair and your makeup done by whoever there. Like, they're like, oh, Olivia Hodson, Bay 4, or whatever. And you go over to the lady at Bay 4, and, hi, I'm Olivia, this is my inspiration, put it on my face. But you don't actually know this lady and, you know, or anything. So I didn't really like it. So I did a bit of touch-ups onto that myself. I just had my hair out and straight. I didn't want to have it curled. I didn't want to play with things sort of thing. I was in the tall categories. They split the bikini girls. Well, they used to. It's all different now. But back in my day, 2022, they split you into short, medium, tall, and tall. I think it's something like that. And I was in the tall because I'm a tall gal. Yeah, competed, did the thing, loved being on stage, loved. Now, you do it, so all your competitors go out, you do your solo walk, and then you stand around the outside, and then they call out like the top like 8. And so my goal, and a lot of people's goal, is to get in that first call out. Like, then you're in the top pack of girls. And that was really my goal. I would have loved to probably have medaled. It's my first ever show. I didn't expect to win. I didn't really expect to medal, but I was like, I believed in myself. I believed in my posing. I believed in my stage presence. Like I told you guys, I probably knew I was a bit small. Like I said, I didn't have enough muscle on me. I knew that. But I did believe that I had a good package. Like I said, I trained hard. I looked good. I was going in pretty confident. But my main goal was to make that top call out, which I did. And they call you in somewhat order of their favorite to least favorite, let's say. Like they call their favorite person to stand front middle, and then they sort of go out from there. So like if you're in the middle of the stage, you're like, oh, I'm in the running here. And if I'm on the outside, and I think I was the second or third girl to get caught, and I was like, holy padooly, they love me. Woo! They really love me. And so I was stoked with that call out. And then your confidence just like boosts from there. You're like, okay, let's go, girls. Like, let's do it. And then you do some like rounds of posing with the other girls that they call out. Then you go off and they bring out the second pack, and then that's sort of it. And then you're off. Like you're on stage for literally like 5 minutes. No, 10 minutes maybe. I don't know. It's not that long. But yeah, so I did the posing. I knew I had done well because of where I'd been placed. And I did think I was probably third or fourth. Like there was a girl next to me who I think they were looking at for third, and I was like, I think I may be close to her and whatnot. So that was sort of where I was sitting. You then have like a lunch break. I had some food, actually GYG, Slay Queen. And then you come back, you do another round in the night, and then you get in your ball gown, do your ball gown. My ball gown was fucking sick, and I actually think it was one of the best out there, just saying. But they always pick the girls with the big puffy dresses. So the big puffy dress won the ball gown round, which was fine. But I did love my gown. And anyway, didn't place, lol. But I did come fourth. You find out the next day. So I was absolutely stoked, like over the moon stoked with fourth place. And yeah, I looked great. I was so happy with my package, so happy with my posing. I don't really think there was much I could have changed on that day. I forgot to say, when I went back for the night show, I actually redid my whole makeup. Me and my sister Emma, I fully wiped off my makeup and redid it, which was probably illegal. But like I said, I didn't really love my makeup. So I redid my makeup. And then, yeah, the next day I did that photo shoot with Giselle, like I said, which was fun. And then me and Mum went out for dinner that night because we had, we stayed in Sydney together, which was nice. And we went out for dinner, and then we went home the next day, and then it's all over and you're just really small and sad. I actually was so small by the time I competed that I would look at myself training and be like, you actually look like a stick. Like, I didn't really like the way I looked, which was hilarious because like I said, I'd lost 12 kilos, and most people would be like, yay, skinny. And I was like, ew, put some fat back on me, please. And I thought that originally when I got to that stage, I'd be like, yes, I love the way I look amazing, the best ever. But like, you're then still picking yourself apart. So when I tell girls that your skinnier self isn't always your best self, I honestly mean it, because I experienced my skinnier self, and I don't think it was my best ever look that I had, or like the way I didn't feel amazing. I didn't feel that amazing in my skin because I was being so critical of it. So it was an interesting time. Now, after the show, you then have to put on body fat because it is unsafe to stay at that level of body fat, especially for a female. So you need to put on some body fat, and ideally you're going to do it in the most safest, slowest way possible. Like, you don't want to put on 12 kilos in 1 week because your body isn't going to really like that, guys. So you want to do it nice, slow, and steady. But then after the show, Sherelle, my coach, we had a plan to slowly increase my calories, which I was like sort of good with. But like, honestly, the mental fatigue I had at that point was so much. Like you just want to, you know that you could go and have extra food. So you just want to go and have the extra food. And like, you knew that your goal was to put on body fat. Oh, I'll just have it. Like, it's not really going to matter. But then you have it and then you're like, oh my God, I'm so fat. Like, that's literally what you tell yourself, which obviously is so unsafe and unhealthy, but like you're stuck in this really, really bad position in your mind. And it's really hard to get out of. So I actually struggled a lot post-show with my body image. Yes, I did end up, finding my feet again and coming out of that sort of hole I was in post-show with my body image. But it did take lots of time. So I don't think it's as easy as people will sometimes think to become themselves after being so teeny tiny and so tunnel vision on their body image. So it did take me a lot of work, but I did get there, which, I was grateful for. I originally thought I was going to compete again after that show. I had set a plan with my coach, Sherelle, at the time, to be like, I think I'm going to maybe do an IFBB and a WBFF. Okay, guys, don't mind the little interruption and the different camera angle if you are watching, but I keep having storage issues, so I'm just going to wrap it up here. But what I was saying is that I was thinking of doing some more shows, but then I got engaged, and so I was like, no, I want to live my life. I don't want to worry about being in a deficit or, being super, super strict with competing, because we all know I was super disciplined and my life was sort of controlled by competing for a little bit there. So I definitely sort of put my competing goals on the back burner, but never say never. Might jump on the stage again. It's still in the back of my head, but like I sort of said on here, that a lot of the girls do use performance enhancing drugs, and I just think that I will always be on the back foot because I don't see myself ever using performance enhancing drugs. It's just not something that I personally want to do. Nothing against those who do, because I do think that it is necessary to be successful in the sport of bodybuilding. And I actually really love the sport of bodybuilding. And to be honest, drugs are used in every single sport. So people talk shit about bodybuilding, but like I said, whether you find out or not, everyone's using drugs in different sports for different reasons, for them to get ahead, essentially. So that's just life. Life is just unfair. But yes, I never say never, but I don't know if I can convince myself to do it when I know that I'll always be slightly on the back foot. But I definitely don't think that I have reached my genetic level at all. Like, I do think that I can genetically grow more muscle. I could get leaner. I think I could do all that. I've only done one show, so I don't really know what my body's capable of yet. So you never know. I might do it, but also I might not. But I could rave on forever here, guys. And I've literally done this outro like 3 times and my phone keeps deleting the video. So let's hope this one lasts. But make sure you like, review, subscribe. Ask me some questions. I could have talked about this topic for so much longer. Like, I could have made this video go so much longer and talked more detail on what the prep actually was, and maybe why I did certain things or whatever. But overall, great experience. I loved it. I don't regret it at all. I actually loved being on stage. I actually loved the journey. I loved working with Sherelle as my coach. So they were all really positive experiences. Negatives was definitely the post-show blues, I guess. Getting sick to like those few weeks out was like really, really a hard time for me. And then, those last few months after the show, definitely struggled mentally a lot. Probably the most I've ever struggled with my body image, which was, quite upsetting. But happy that I've, learned a lot from the experience. I'm so proud of myself that I did it, because it's not something a lot of people can do. Or they can do, but they don't do. They don't commit to the cause. So yeah, hopefully this has been enjoyable. Sorry that I've sort of jumped in here at the end. But yeah, make sure you let me know if you had any follow-up questions. Let me know if you like my mic, because this mic situation is so funny. I'm going to put some videos and some photos of me doing my show on the Instagram page, the Live Strong Podcast Instagram. So if you want to actually see what I look like, what I was doing walking around the stage, have a little sus. Anyway, that's all from me. Bye.